Why, hello there, fellas.
Hello.
Welcome to another Cinema Fantastico View and Spew review.
I like this new character.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
I am your host, Von Rutkowski.
And welcome to the Cabinet of Wonders.
I'm trying to get the NPR audience to kind of come in.
Well, you gotta
do the kind of the British. Well, no, I mean,
yeah,
you could do that sort of thing, but I'm talking more of the stuff that's like the British invasion.
Oh, right
Stuff.
Ye old British invasion.
Should all have a character and do like Prairie Home Companion version.
My dog named Rusty. Not for any other reason. He wasn't red. He wasn't really brown. He loved the lake.
You just got to put some folksy music in behind here, and you'll be covered.
Just need a banjo.
Exactly. Just a little bit of a banjo.
Yep.
So welcome to the Prairie Home Companion, everybody.
What did we watch?
Lunatics, a love story. Yeah.
This was mine. This was my suggestion.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was my find.
Yeah. How did you come upon this movie?
Random.
Yeah, just random.
I think it was maybe something that was like a Facebook post of somebody else from another country going, look what I scored.
Right.
And then I was like, I saw Ted Raimi on there. And I was like, I don't know anything. Hello? I thought I've seen like every Ted Raimi thing ever. Right.
And
then once I looked into it.
Yeah, exactly. Not just Ted Raimi.
Deborah Foreman.
You realized how much of a
Bruce
fake
Campbell.
fan you are.
Right.
Yes.
All these years.
Yeah, artificial. And then, and also produced by Sam Raimi, too.
Yeah. Renaissance Pictures.
Music by Joseph Loduca did as you spotted, the music for
Evil Dead
Dead, Army of Darkness. Other than the Danny Elfman March of the Dead theme.
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Good find. And so I guess the deal with this one for any viewers / listeners that may want to watch this is that it's not available in the United States. Is that correct?
So yeah, this is Umbrella Entertainment. They are an Australian distributor that you can still buy copies of this movie and have it sent directly to you. I think it is a Region 4.
Yeah, it'll be a PAL disc, so you need...
no, it is an NTSC.
Really?
Okay.
But it's just in Region 4. And it is... You can also watch it on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
Somebody did place it on YouTube.
Awesome.
That's www.youtube.com.
Yeah, for those if you haven't heard of it.
Yeah. http://www.youtube.com.
Are there any capitals in any capital letters in that?
No.
I get that all the time when I'm like talking to customers and I'm giving them a website address. I'm like, is that capitalized?
Right.
No, you can just do it lower. That's
AOL keyword lunatics.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Go to your AOL AIM.
Good find though. What did you guys think of this movie?
Yeah, it was a fun movie. As I alluded to last week, I had seen it before.
Okay.
Late 90s when I went on my Evil Dead phase as a youngster, and I was like, I need to see everything that Bruce Campbell's involved with.
Yeah.
To any degree. That really cleared up. But I don't remember almost any of it.
Well, you said you found it, or you rented it on VHS.
Yeah,
when you were just
VHS.
going to Video Update or wherever it was.
Yep.
And like I said, I have never heard anything about this even at that time. And we discussed before we started watching the movie that I was like you. I would go and I would take advantage of how many you could buy if you had a membership or to rent with a membership. Rent your 3 or 6 that you could grab at that time, go home, watch as many as you could, go back the same day, and then grab, the extra ones to fill your queue.
Didn't they make it something? It's like you could rent more like the longer you had a membership or something? Is that the correct thing? I might be thinking of something else.
I don't know. I just remember the tail end of Blockbuster when I was living in Minneapolis, and I could essentially walk to the Blockbuster.
Right.
you could take out X amount of movies at one time or whatever. TV shows, didn't matter what it was. But that's how I saw a lot of TV series that I didn't get, picked up on. Or I would just go to, I don't know, the foreign section and go A, and then just go, systematically all the way down the line. I did that when I worked at a video store as well. I didn't feel necessarily competition from him, but I loved his ambition because that's what he started to do. Because we would always rent out to each other. So if they happen to be in line and get off work, I always noticed, I was like, well, what are you doing? Because it seems like you're going alphabetically through all the different genres. He's like, yeah, no, I started from that side of the building in the dramas, started going all the way down, and now I'm into action and whatever. I'm just like, oh my God, that's crazy, but I love it.
Yeah, I gotta respect that kind of game for sure. Absolutely.
You're gonna get what you get, and that's kind of what this was. That's kind of the spirit of this of this program too. And I did enjoy it. I think I got exactly what I was expecting out of it, because it didn't really break out of that crew of the Renaissance pictures of Sam Raimi, the Ted Raimi, the Bruce Campbell stuff. You have Crime Wave, which is also a really good find, and it had more. I mean, that was Sam Raimi directing it as well, but you could see some of the elements of what I think where this came from was the guys that worked closely together with the Xena, Hercules,
right?
All the stuff that the New Zealand stuff that they were doing. And didn't you say it was one of the director had connections?
Yeah. So the writer-director, he directed 9 episodes of Xena. He directed one of the Hercules TV movies that they did.
Okay.
He was somebody who was. I guess he, is one of those people, kind of like Bruce Campbell, who's shows up in Sam Raimi movies, like Ted Raimi also, where he'll just be in there. So he's a little bit part in Army of Darkness.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, part of the Raimi family, that kind of does stuff together.
Yeah. They were real tight during that time period of the 90s.
So this just seemed like something, hey, do you have something? Or he probably went to Sam and said, hey, I got something. And
yeah,
said, well,
sure.
let's just do this little thing.
When did Renaissance really kick off? Because this was, I thought that this was a late 90s movie, based on when I rented it and discovered it, but I was surprised to find that it was 91.
Oh, yeah. Which
means it predates Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, it predates all the TV series. I'm fairly certain. Xena didn't start until later, right? Mid 90s, maybe? Xena and Hercules?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
it was early
so this would have been pre the TV realm that they were operating within. Renaissance started with Evil Dead 2, right? I mean, that was Rosebud.
I thought it was still Rosebud, wasn't it? Or no, did they have the
I don't know.
co-production?
Rosebud was a...
Because Renaissance is Sam Raimi and... I can't remember who the other guy is. Rod Tapert, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know what... I don't know.
I will definitely say that it feels like Sam Raimi's fingerprints are all over this movie, though. And that's not always the case. Like I was just talking about, one of the movies that had slipped through the cracks for me was The Grudge, the remake of The Grudge, but, the remake of Ju-On, I guess. But that movie is also produced by Sam Raimi. That's during that time that he was just producing a lot of horror movies. And that also has Ted Raimi in it. But that movie couldn't be any more different than the other kind of, the Renaissance output. And I definitely don't feel that was the case with this one. With things like the camera cutting, the stop motion that was used in it, even just the kind of the wackadoo sense of comedy, almost like quasi Three Stooges kind of stuff that you see. I mean, this felt very much, if you like that Sam Raimi style, I think you would definitely get a kick out of this.
But it was generic Sam Raimi style.
Sure. Yeah.
He probably, what I would assume is the director, he's, I guess, so later he worked a lot with Sam, if we're looking at the timeline.
Right.
But this has a little bit more elements of what Sam would have approached certain things, but doesn't really nail it.
Well, this is again early in that timeline. This is post Evil Dead 2, but pre Army of Darkness. So it's actually kind of an important film if you think about it. If you took Evil Dead 2 which is largely a comedy, let's be honest. But if you actually dialed down the horror elements and just raised the volume on the comedy, it's largely a similar plot in a way.
Yeah.
It's a guy in a room for a large portion of the movie slowly going insane.
Yep.
He starts off insane.
Yeah, he starts insane. Yeah.
But he starts Evil Dead 2 insane too because of the events of the prior film or the prior night.
Right.
And you have everybody there that was already there on the set of Evil Dead 2. Bruce Campbell is the antagonist here instead of the protagonist, which is he's kind of plays a few roles, I think, but I think he's only credited for the one. So that comedy kind of bleeds into Army of Darkness because Army of Darkness, of course, is completely a comedy, and those comedic elements really go into the Hercules and Xena franchises.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it's just kind of the genesis of it.
I mean, I do say I was kind of expecting with this film to be more along the lines of something like a Xena/Hercules, and I did like this more than that. I mean, to be fair, full disclosure, I was never really a big fan of those shows. There was something like so ultra cheap about them that like it just always kind of drove me up the wall, and it was just not my thing.
And redundant, I thought.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And I feel the quality was higher on this. I mean, it comes from that interesting time, which is like, of course, this time is gone now, but where everything was film, right? Like you didn't have digital, so even like really low budget movies like this like still look kind of good just because they were shot on film. So that's one thing I liked about it. I think it did have a good look to it. I do think it was actually kind of a romantic little story, and I just liked the whole. It kind of reminded me a little bit of almost things like Brazil, right? Where it's like you have somebody that's like living in their head at the same time as having to live in the real world. And I really liked the way that they manifested it, which we have basically one of his tormentors is played by Bruce Campbell. And Bruce Campbell actually plays two roles in this film. But as one of those roles, he's a doctor who's always wearing like a surgeon's mask, and is just constantly attacking him. But you have, moments like that. You've got the spiders. You just like have all these really cool moments of like seeing what's happening inside of his head that I feel were really interesting. And there's some really good gags in here. Like I really like the one with the couch where he's like on a couch with her and he's like backing up from her and the camera's going back, but they like literally must have went out and got like they must have built it or something, but a really long version of that same couch, so that they could have this gag of just having it go backwards as the back.
It's not just a stretch of the image. It actually is a much longer couch.
Exactly.
There's no CGI.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it did have some really interesting visual gags that way.
You called attention to the phone gag.
Oh, yeah.
666.
Yeah, exactly.
All the buttons on the phone was a 6.
Right, yeah. So he's like, yeah, exactly. And you look at it, they're all 6s on there. And I like how, like, the recording, she's also like, please please get a life and hang up, and everything like that. So that was cool.
Well, and for the time, the stop motion was actually really good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he knew that it was stop motion, but the fluidity of the spider, especially at the end, was fantastic.
Totally.
I mean, that could have been really herky-jerky, but somebody who, they knew what they were doing.
And it's only a few years after something like RoboCop with the Ed 209 stop motion. I mean, which it looks not that good.
Sure.
But comparatively.
Well, I mean, I'm saying as far as fitting into the scene, it didn't look that good, but I'm saying the fluidity.
Sure.
I also kind of think that they're going for that. If you look at even what happened with like Army of Darkness, which was after this, the stop motion also doesn't look that good, but I kind of think that's what they're like, hey, you know what, this is fine, we want this kind of like Harryhausen kind of a look, we don't mind if it looks a little dated, that's kind of the approach they're going for. So yeah, I really thought that it worked pretty well. And I don't know. I really liked. I definitely think probably my favorite was the thing with the.
You're hitting my camera.
Oh,
careful.
Groovy. So, but yeah, no, I really liked the rap part too.
Yeah.
So he like puts on a record, and like these 3 rappers come out, which I guess are portrayed by Detroit's Most Wanted, which is a group that I'm not familiar with. But they
Probably
do
for a reason,
right? Yeah, they do this song about how he's having like a meltdown,
and very Fat Boys. Run D, not even that great.
Sure,
more Fat Boys Houdini type.
Right.
Rap.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and like we talked about, like there's that one shot from inside the record player that you see. It's like out of the little window where you change the radio. You actually see them through that.
It's a very inventive shot.
Yeah. There's a lot of just inventive things in here. I think actually there's interestingly, not planned at all, but I think there's a lot of parallels between what we watched last week with St. Bernard and this, not just the elements of somebody's losing their mind, but like something that's really obviously a labor of love from somebody who's had all these ideas. And I think that's like a really interesting thing when you have a filmmaker who hasn't made a ton of films. They've kind of stored up all of this stuff, and they've always thought, and I'm sure they're somebody who's a big fan of the films, right? And this is an idea, this is an idea, this is an idea, and they just kind of put them all together into one film, and this is their big hurrah. I think that was a lot of the case in St. Bernard, and this is a lot of the case in this one as well. I think St. Bernard was definitely a better film than Lunatics, but they were both clearly labors of love. And I will say, I didn't like look at my clock once through this movie. I was never like, oh, when's this movie going to end?
Right.
Yeah, I thought the pacing was good. Yeah, and I thought that too. I was like, am I picking stuff, and that's kind of this through thread of something, that's common from, this and that, but, I don't know.
If the box is right, it's 83 minutes. So if you looked at your watch, that would have been a very bad thing.
Yeah, well, and that's good. And I think that says something. I think a lot of these movies, as we talked about, previously, these movies don't need to be over 90 minutes long. And if you just trim some of this, a lot of movies like this can be totally fine as 80-minute movies. And that's a good thing. I was just watching Attack the Block recently, which I think is a perfect film, and Attack the Block's 90 minutes, like on the nose, and thank God, because it doesn't need to be any longer than that. I really wish more people would do that kind of thing, stop padding out their films with scenes that are not necessary. Honestly, I think you could have even probably cut like a good 5 minutes from this film, and it would have made it a stronger film. But I think for the most part, it was very tightly paced.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that even with a scene that involved Ted talking to his mom on the phone, even though that was a pretty long sequence and he was just pacing back and forth in the room, they actually would cut to his feet.
Right.
So actually they did do some cuts, as opposed to they just could have like put it the static camera, just kind of, moved it back and forth.
Yeah.
Just to get him in the room. Not that made that conversation any more stimulating, and they probably just could have truncated that down to, just its core. But at least it was a callback, or it was foreshadowing to what the events that were happening in the future.
Right.
It's just that they could have tightened that up just a little bit. So a couple little tightening bits here and there. Have you ever seen the movie Bug?
No, I have not.
70s movie?
The later. It was the William Friedkin one with.
It's based on a play too, I believe.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon and
Ashley
Judd.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie, and there were some elements that kind of reminded me of that too. There's different, more kind of crazy things that happen in Bug, but not too dissimilar to this. But competent movie. Nothing too graphic. Maybe there are a couple cringy scenes of the Me Too thing of like you're. But
at least in that case, you are talking about like street gangs and stuff. It's so. I think that's a bit more.
Well, there's that, and there's some things that Ted did that was.
Oh, right.
Really stepping over the line.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. One that, I know he was reacting to something that was in his head, but stopping her at the door and then, just basically assaulting her.
Oh, yeah,
before
totally.
she left
Right.
was just not, that was completely uncouth.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Ted wasn't in the right frame of mind as a character either.
He hasn't been in the right frame of mind in the entire movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe at the end he...
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to think he's probably not cured, but what I do like is that
he pulls off the tinfoil, man.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, we're lucky we get to cut off the movie for the relapses,
Right.
But she's also got her issues as well.
Yeah.
And I do like Deborah Foreman, who I don't remember her character's name in the film.
Nancy.
Okay, gotcha. But so I liked Nancy in the movie. I think that she's obviously got some of her own issues. She's somebody who's like, you can tell just very early on, she's somebody who's, she's always trying to, I don't know, there's a word for it, but she's always trying to fix things and save people. I don't know exactly what the correct terminology for that is, but you see one of the first things she's doing is she sees this like plant, which is kind of like this old dead plant in a garbage, and she wants to save it.
A potted plant that's on its last legs.
Yeah, exactly. So she grabs that, and then she sees a dog that she wants to save and ends up running in the street and dying. She obviously, there's this guy who's played by Bruce Campbell with a beautiful rat tail, by the way. And she is obviously followed him across the country to Los Angeles.
From
Iowa. And then, but you can tell that's probably, again, part of her personality is that she's like, oh, I can fix him, right? I can make him better. So that's this consistent issue that she has. But she also feels that she's cursed, that everything she does, she's ending up, everything bad happens because she tries to help these people.
That's her catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly.
That she's cursed.
Yeah, she's cursed. Exactly. So, but she obviously has some issues. She's not, whatever, full-on schizophrenic like he is, but she's definitely got some issues as well. So, I think this is, in its way, this is a precursor to Silver Linings Playbook, sure. That is kind of what this is. And it is, I think it's a cute story. I don't think there's not a whole lot here. It's very straightforward, but it's just about these two damaged people who end up finding each other and, kind of find strength in one another. But it's also just a really good vehicle for some cool visual gags, some good, little early 90s special effects, a lot of love, and just again, a lot of love on the screen, and that's what I like. It's you don't feel it's not cynical at any point. Is it something I would say people should rush out and watch? Definitely not, but I would say that especially if you're a Raimi completist, you absolutely watch it. It's certainly worth your time. Definitely not a very bad movie. And a lot of these little low budget movies, they are just it's sure there's something to like there, but this is mostly just BS. Don't feel that way with this one.
Yeah, I concur in that element. I think it's completely worth watching. I don't think that it's worth celebrating. I think it's an interesting footnote in the Raimi universe of films. Not that he directed it. I want to make that clear.
Sure. And have we mentioned the director yet? I think we should bring that up. At least it's where is it? Where is he at?
Isn't it Jack something?
Yeah. Okay. Josh. Hello. By the way, I don't think we introduced ourselves. I'm Joshua T. Ruth. That's my name.
I'm the director of Lunatics, Josh.
But Josh Becker. It's Josh Becker is his name. Writer and director Josh Becker.
Deborah Foreman is... I don't know her story. I don't know a lot about her personally, but I think she's kind of an unsung actress. I mean, she didn't have a lot of lead roles in her career, and I don't know if that was by choice or by the system.
Probably not by choice.
Famously, she was in Valley Girl, which is probably her biggest movie that everybody would recognize her from today.
Right.
Anne reminded me she was in the original April Fool's Day, and My Chauffeur, which is another 80s comedy that's kind of a cult comedy. It's not one that people really think about.
Right. Also, Real Genius.
And Real Genius.
Yeah.
I don't remember her part being very significant in it, but I think this is a good avenue if you're interested in seeing other of her work other than Valley Girl. She's front and center in this whole movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For the most part, and I think it's good. It's sad that she's not in more stuff.
Right.
Well, and then Ted Raimi, how many lead roles has he ever had? But now in this one, he was Theodore
Raimi. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point.
So he's not playing fake Shemp this time. He is, he's the lead person.
He's not just somebody's legs in the scene. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can't think. Can you guys think of any lead roles he's had besides this?
Not off the top of my head.
He's played full characters in Xena and Hercules.
Sure.
Yeah, but he's not top bill. He was top bill in this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly not something like a romantic lead, No, definitely.
He's kind of the Clint Howard on the fringe, person.
Right.
But I think he does a fine job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a fine movie.
I mean, I would, just especially if you place it in its time, I would have watched this above a lot of other output in 1991. Absolutely. There's so much just nonsense, especially straight to video stuff. Just a lot of just real BS was coming out, and I would have placed this just because of its visual inventiveness and stuff like that. I mean, I would have placed it a lot higher. It's a little more of a tough sell now because we have so many different choices of things to watch and our time is a lot more valuable. But I think especially of that time in 91, I think had I watched this back then, it would have been a little bit of a revelation. Not a huge one, but I would have definitely been like, ooh, this is a really cool movie. I could have seen this movie making, honestly, probably even maybe my top 20 in 1991 if I'd seen it back then, but again, now
I think the best way that it's been put so far is if you are a fan of the Raimis, I want to see more from Deborah Foreman, Bruce Campbell. You got to see everything that Bruce Campbell is in. Sure. That's why that's why I picked this out.
Some good Bruce Campbell in this too.
Yeah,
mean Bruce Campbell too.
Yeah,
like the character he plays in Army of Darkness dialed up.
Right.
Where he's just complete misogynist.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like I needed more of him. I thought maybe he would be the scene stealer.
Right.
You could tell the physicality, especially at the end when the other girl leaves and he kind of does his thing.
Yeah.
That he just excels at. And the first thing that popped in my mind is why can't Ted be more physical in the way that Bruce is physical? And I would have thought that if they switched roles, how much of a different movie it would be.
Oh yeah.
Because Ted put in his most physicality to it.
He did the best he could. And
but he didn't have the same.
I mean, Bruce Campbell's just a physical comedy genius,
right?
It's you just. Yeah. I think it's hard to operate on the level of that guy.
But even when you saw 4 seconds of Bruce kind of letting his body do his thing in that fluid way that he does, animated way that he does, I just for that few seconds,
totally,
I was like, how would this movie be so much more different? But I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really didn't think it was that bad at all.
No,
I think Bruce was more of a, we want to give Ted Raimi a chance, I realize that. Yeah, let's gather all of our friends, to support.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't fault it for that, but I'm just saying, just in those couple little seconds,
right?
I had that in my head how much different it'd be. But then it'd just be Evil Dead 2.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Or what would they say speed on a boat or whatever, whatever the phrase, that'd be the same thing. It's Evil Dead in an apartment.
Totally.
With no demons, right? Except the ones you create yourself.
You also do get a little cameo as Bruce Campbell as Edgar Allan Poe in this movie.
Yep, that was great.
So, if that piques your interest.
I was still waiting for Jim Morrison to pop up.
Right.
That just would have brought it up, just another notch.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you only see one Jim Morrison movie from 1991, see The Doors.
When did The Doors come out?
91.
That was 91. Wow.
That's why I said it would have been a good crossover if you could have got Val Kilmer.
Oh, it would have been so good.
Probably at that time, no.
Probably not. Now.
Now. ... Now.
Exactly. Shame on you.
Probable. Well, thanks, guys. That was Lunatics,
Thank you.
a love story. Shawn, what is next? What do we have next on the docket?
Next, we are watching Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
Nice.
I have never seen before.
Neither have I.
No, but definitely not. Yeah, I haven't even watched a trailer or anything.
Again, a cast, a movie I didn't even hear about, know anything about until recently.
Voyage of the Rock Aliens. Yeah.
But Shawn, you were aware of it.
I was aware that it existed because I've seen the movie poster, the one sheet, pop up on a lot. I've been collecting posters for 30 years now, so I've seen it pop up. I've seen people request it, but I've never actually known anything about the movie. And I just watched the trailer recently because somebody threw it at me, and I am equally regretful that I know anything about it now.
So they did the Clockwork Orange thing where they opened up your eyes and made you watch it.
Yes, just like that. But I'm very excited to see it now, even after seeing the trailer. Nice. So I mean,
I think it's one of the rare things where it showed you a lot. The trailer does, but it doesn't give away anything that you wouldn't maybe expect from it. But we'll see what happens. Because I'm
a music nerd, especially from that era. So I'm psyched for it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Me too.
Nice.
It should just be wall-to-wall music and Pia Zadora. And
yes.
Hey, I'll take it. Wait. So who else? Pia Zadora. Who else?
Craig Schaefer.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
That's why I'm surprised because Nightbreed is one of my favorite movies of all time. Same. So again, it's the same thing with this. Yeah. I wanted to gather up as much as I could of his work at that time. And another one that just flew under the radar.
Voyage of the Rock Aliens is on YouTube.
Yes. So if you want to see it before we, view and spew everywhere, you can check it out there. I had to get it from a German distributor, so there is no U.S. release. I think there's maybe a VHS release back in the day. But,
I'm sure.
I just elected to get the DVD copy.
That's a clear-cut case where it's got to be the soundtrack holding it back.
I would assume so. I mean, we'll see, and then once we see who's credited for what, could be the case.
Right.
Or Pia Zadora said, no way, this is not going to be.
She has that kind of clout.
Pia drew a line in the sand.
Maybe at that time. Well, she did a lot of canon stuff later on, but anyways. Thanks again.
Thank you
for coming out. This is a lot of fun. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I look forward to next time. Shawn really looks forward to next time.
Yes.
And next time, we'll see you next time.
Next time.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.